this is the horrifying case of Elizabeth Fritzl. On August 28, 1984, 18-year-old Elizabeth was asked by her father Joseph to help him install a door in the basement. Let Elizabeth know this door would be separating her from the world for the next 24 years. Joseph knocked Elizabeth unconscious by holding an ether-soaked rag to her face. Joseph created a fake letter for his wife that claimed Elizabeth had left town on her own. Joseph would brutally beat and rape his daughter almost every day, then leave her chained up in the dark. In 1988, she gave birth to her first child, and over the course of 14 years, she gave birth to 6 more children. The children were removed from the cellar and raised upstairs. Joseph told his wife the kids appeared and had a note from Elizabeth saying to take care of them. Joseph would punish Elizabeth and her children by shutting off the electricity and refusing food and water. On April 19, 2008, Elizabeth and Joseph's oldest child, 19-year-old Kirsten, suffered liver failure. Elizabeth helped carry Kirsten out of the basement, allowing her to see the world for the first time in 24 years. Medical staff alerted police on April 21st about Kirsten's condition. On April 26, Joseph let Elizabeth go to the hospital with him. On the promise that Elizabeth would never see her father again, she told the police of the torture she endured. 73-year-old Joseph was arrested. He's still in prison today in Austria.
You guys, this week, there was a huge revelation in the Amy Mihaljevic case from News Channel 5 in Cleveland, and no one's talking about it, so I need to. Just as a quick recap, Amy went missing from Bay Village, Ohio back in 1989. This guy called her home, said that he was friends with her mom. Her mom had gotten a promotion, so he wanted to buy her a gift, and he wanted Amy to help him. So they make plans for him to pick Amy up after school at this shopping plaza. Spoiler, her mom didn't get a promotion. No one knows who this guy is, and Amy's abducted. Months later, her body is found in Ashland, Ohio. But then for years, the case just goes unsolved. We did an episode on Crime Junkie. We did an episode in the fan club. Nothing happened. So we all rolled into 2021 thinking there were no updates. But we were so wrong. So something prompted News Channel 5 in Cleveland to request some court records filed last fall. And here's what we learned. A woman came forward in January 2019 and said that she believed her ex-boyfriend could have been the suspect that took Amy, the guy that they made this sketch off of. And here's what they put in the court documents that kind of support it. 1, at the time, he lived less than 1.5 miles from where she was picked up. 2, he worked at the shopping plaza where she was picked up. 3, he had a niece in her grade, so that might explain how he knew her home phone number. 4, he didn't come home the night Amy went missing and was murdered. 5, in May 2020, police showed witnesses who saw Amy talking to a man a picture of this guy in a photo lineup, and they picked him out. 6, his car interior is the same color as fibers found on Amy. His car drove through an intersection near where Amy's body was found the day it was found. But that's not even the most bananas part. So this woman comes forward in January of 2019. Fast forward to November of 2019. This is right after the 30-year anniversary of Amy's abduction. This guy, waltzes into the police station. This very guy we're talking about. And he comes presumably to talk about Amy. And News Channel 5 Cleveland says that they talked to him over the course of 2 days. And he makes shady statements. He might have known her, he might have called her, but it was probably a wrong number. And if there is DNA, someone else probably put it there. Now, after this, they find out he has a storage unit. He doesn't consent to let them search it, so they get a warrant and they seize evidence. And they also take his DNA for comparison. In 2019. It's 2021. Court docs are filed months ago. What up?
Hi, I'm Cam, and this is 1 Minute Murder. Rebecca Aylward and her boyfriend Joshua Davies started off as a happy couple, but one day Joshua randomly ended the relationship. He started spreading rumors about Rebecca and told his friend she would be better off dead. Joshua became more and more obsessed with the idea of killing Rebecca. It even became an inside joke with his friends. He said if he killed her, they had to cook him breakfast. Joshua and his friend even made a poison and gave it to Rebecca. She ended up in the hospital, but they could never find the source of her illness. On the 23rd of October 2010, Joshua invited Rebecca to meet up and claimed he wanted to get back together. Rebecca spent hours doing her hair and makeup. They met and walked into some isolated woods. Joshua then attempted to snap her neck. He then grabbed a large rock and beat her in the head with it until she was dead. The next day, Joshua brought a friend to see her body. He told the friend, quote, "The worst part was seeing her skull give way." Joshua only received 14 years for Rebecca's murder. He also has access to the internet and a PS3 in prison.
This is the last known selfie this man took. What happened next is hauntingly tragic.
As a young man, Christopher McCandless always wanted to live off the grid. As soon as he graduated university, he traveled to North America. Then he hitchhiked his way to Alaska. In 1992, he entered the Alaskan bush, hoping to live off the land on minimal supplies. He actually set up camp in an abandoned bus, and Christopher's sense of adventure simply took over. At first, Chris was living his dream, but things took a dark turn. The reality was, Chris was not well equipped to live in the wilderness, and he greatly struggled to find food. He didn't even have the supplies to get himself help. By September of that year, his body was found in that abandoned bus. Christopher only weighed 30 kilos. Now, there's some debate as to exactly what happened to him. People wondered if he starved to death or if he accidentally ate some poison berries. For more 7 Sins Crime, hit the plus.
I've got numerous requests on the Yoga Twins car crash or Yoga Twins murder, so let's get into it. Allison and Ann Datto were born in Utica, New York, and when they were 5 years old, they would lose their mother. Even with that hardship growing up, they were said to be both very popular, they were inseparable, they literally would finish each other's sentences, they seemed like one spirit split into two. As they reach adulthood, they would open up their own yoga studio down in West Palm Beach, Florida. Twin Power Yoga Studio would actually be open from 2008 to 2014. At first, everybody loved them. They said they embodied what yoga stood for, and they had these magnetic personalities that just was such a positive thing. But behind the scenes, these two sisters fought a lot, and not only did that include just like yelling at each other, they would straight up punch and hit and physically abuse each other. And with their status climbing, they actually were approached to do a reality TV show. TV producers would tell them that they needed to get a bit of a bigger space, something a little more fancy, that way they had it for the show. So the girls agreed and they got the space. But this reality TV show deal would actually go sour and just completely fall apart, so they were stuck left with this more expensive studio and they actually couldn't afford it. And then in 2014, they just shut the doors without notice. Some of the employees said that they just up and left without paying anybody, and then also members said that they never got a refund. Later in a Dr. Phil interview, one of them does say that yes, they paid everyone back. So after the close of their yoga studio there in Florida, they moved over to Parkland City, Utah. And at this point, they would actually change their names. So Allison would now be Alexandra and Anna would now be Anastasia. They said they had done this because they wanted a fresh start, the internet was giving them a bad name, and they also wanted to write a book. Twins would open up yet another yoga studio. This time it would completely fail and they would be $150,000 in debt, which led them to filing bankruptcy. Also during this time, the twins did develop a drinking problem, and this followed them as they moved to Hawaii. So in 2015, when they were in Hawaii, they lived more specifically at Maui, and they said this was for a spiritual quest. Christmas Eve, they had went out to dinner and they were drinking a lot. They actually slid off the road because the one driving, Alexandria, was drunk. The cops were called because not only were they fighting with each other, but they were fighting with the restaurant owner as well, and they were threatening him, saying that they were going to get the mafia to come kill him. So at this time, they were arrested for disorderly conduct and also terroristic threats. So flash forward to 2016, and we're going to talk about the day of the crash. Each of them had a boyfriend. One was named Federico and the other one was named Lonnie. Now, Anna and Federico was going to go out on a camping trip. Anna and Federico had headed over to Costco to get some supplies for their camping trip, but she realized she had Alexandra's card, so she went back to their house. When she got there, her sister convinced them that she was coming on the trip too, and he said that's fine, but if you do, you're not drinking the whole time, because at this point he was aware of their drinking problem and he was trying to help both of them to get sober. Alexandra didn't like this and actually had snuck a bottle of wine onto their camping trip, and Federico found out about it, and it caused this whole thing that actually the two girls got into the car without him and left him at the campsite. They were driving on the road to Hana, and when they were driving, they were said to be kind of erratic, and there was actually a witness that was driving behind them at the time of the accident. He said he could see the two girls fighting, that they were hitting each other, the car was kind of swerving, and things like that. During this, Alexandria hit the gas, and this is when the car took a hard left and went off a cliff. Had stopped immediately and called 911 so that first responders could get out there. The area that their car actually went off with was full of rocks. It was the only area without any water, and also was noted to be the only area at the time with no guardrail. Anastasia died at the scene, but Alexandria was still alive. They think the combo between the steering wheel and the airbags is what saved her. They took Alexandria to Maui Memorial Hospital, and she hadn't sustained any serious injuries, so the police decided they wanted to question her. They thought it was really weird that when they went to talk to her, she showed no emotion. She was not asking about her sister at all. Some argue this was shock, but they found it as a red flag. Mainly because when she did decide to talk to them, she just asked, "Why are you here?" And when their dad found out about this, he was upset that the, quote, wrong twin died. He said it should have been that bitch. They did testing, they found out that Alexandria's blood alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit. Meanwhile, Federico is still at the campsite. He has no idea what's going on, and he actually didn't hitch a ride from somebody until the following day. And when he finally did talk to police, he had said that the week prior, he heard Alexandria say to Anna that they were going to leave this earth on the 30th. Also that him and Anna had planned to move to a different part of Hawaii, and they were going to open up their own business, and that Alexandra did not like this at all because if she just wanted Anna all to herself. So police kind of felt like they should go ahead and move forward with this. They wanted to charge her with second-degree murder. Now, when they went to go arrest her at her house, she was already gone. Because they're on Hawaii, they realized they should check the flights, and she did have a flight back to the main 48. Her plane should have already taken off, but it had actually been grounded due to mechanical errors, so she was at a nearby hotel. She went to her prelim hearing, and it was said that she was playing up her injuries because she showed up in that sling. She would plead not guilty to the second-degree murder charges, and then the judge would decide that they didn't have enough probable cause to go ahead and move forward, so he dropped the charges and dismissed everything. But after this, she went back to New York, and she would get another DWI. She was swerving in and out of lanes and hit a cop car. And her blood alcohol levels would be 3 times the legal limit yet again. Prosecution didn't want to let this go so easy, so she would actually be indicted and brought back to Maui. Then she would stand trial in January of 2018. Now, with this one, it would be that the judge would have the final decision, not a jury. They went through all of the witnesses, including the man that was driving behind them that day, and they also talked to Federico, who said that he helped her with the shower after all of this happened, and she kept wearing Anna's clothes. They would bring in an expert who specialized in automobile accidents, and they would say that the road was wet and that also she had been jerking the car because they were fighting, so this is what caused them to go off the road. Along with this, they pointed out that they had a spare tire on because the previous day they had gotten a flat and this tire didn't have as good of traction. The judge would decide that Alexandria was not responsible for the accident or her sister's death. He said the contributors for that was them fighting and the fact that her sister had pulled her hair and the road conditions. I really want to know what you guys think about this. Let me know.